Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And citizens of the world in particular should listen very carefully to this video. About halfway through last year, I put out an image of an ANC document dated June 1993. And I had several requests for that document to be forwarded to different people, and they were. And the document has never been refuted by the ANC because it is genuine. And there's now an article that's come out which basically talks about this particular document. It's called Circular 213-6 of the African National Congress. And it's dated June 1993. Note, before the ANC came into power. Okay, this is when the Nationalist Party was still running the country. And it has a couple of major sections in this memo, and I'll actually attach the memo to the video so you can view it for yourself. The success story, our struggle for liberation, is a heading. 1. The armed and constant threat of violence forced the white, spineless regime to negotiate for so-called peace. Now, I'm reading directly from the ANC document that came out in June 1993. 2. The psychological warfare through the churches to create a guilt complex with whites was a victory over Christians. 3. The mass action was a successful method to rip the nation economy to pieces and create panic in the rich settlers. 4. The constant uproar in black education is the fourth try for liberation through education because the white regime simply cannot meet all our demands. 5. All 4 tactical attacks leave the regime powerless and gradually giving in to our demands. 6. All these help to create a feeling of helplessness and despair and to lose confidence in their government. Be careful not to upset the farmers too much before we gain control over the South African police and the South African Defence Force. Let me repeat that. This is in the 1993 document. Be careful not to upset the farmers too much before we gain control over the South African police and the South African Defence Force. 7. The constant pressure of violence and economic uncertainty forced de Klerk to surrender power to the suppressed people like in Namibia. And then the next heading is Affirmative Action Strategy after April 27, 1994. So this is their way of dispensing wealth from the white population into the hands of the well-connected bureaucrats and politicians, black politicians in South Africa. It's a blueprint, and you can see they've been following it to the T. Nothing has changed. Here we go. The greatest fear of the white settler is to lose his job, his farm, or his house, and all the luxuries. This will enable the new democratic government to tax them to the utmost, while our comrades in MK and APLA continue with their part of the struggle. Point 1. Surplus land will be redistributed amongst our people. 2. All positions in public service will be replaced by comrades. That's called BEE. 3. The security forces will be reconstructed with our comrades to protect our people. Whites were protected for 350 years. Get them experience to be second-class citizens. Now, this is Mandela's Rainbow Nation. And Mandela was part of the group who were privy to this document. Let me repeat that last one. 3. The security forces will be reconstructed with our comrades to protect our people. Whites were protected for 350 years. Get them experience to be second-class citizens. What do you think is happening right now with BEE, the white squatter camps and things like that? This is part of the ANC plan, which was formulated before 1994. It is absolutely incredible. 4. No ammunition will be available to white settlers. What are they trying to do? They're saying, no, you can't have a gun for self-defense anymore. While the streets of South Africa are roamed by thousands of gangs of thugs with illegal weapons. So people with illegal weapons have their weapons taken off them, and they're probably handed over to the mates of the police who are thugs and bandits. The gangster state, you could call it. 5. Health institutions will be Africanized, and whites will pay according to their income to enable thus to contribute to their liberated brothers. Now, just a couple of days ago, I put that video out of that fellow at the Livingston Hospital in the PE area, totally pissed out of his mind, and he was in charge of registration of patients coming into the hospital. And there's no question. And in fact, we've actually had people in the comments saying, yeah, I go to that hospital and I've seen this guy and he's always pissed out of his mind. Who the hell does he know to keep his job? It's crazy. 6. Some white schools will be allowed because most settlers will pay their last cent for white education, and this will provide some money for our people. Now, there are some really upmarket schools in South Africa, like Michael House and Hilton, Kearsley College, to name a few, St. John's. And those schools, they're saying, will be allowed to continue because it's going to help them financially. 7. Pension funds. Now, this is a biggie. This is a huge one because they haven't actually triggered this one yet, but it's a huge one. 7. Pension funds and insurance companies collected billions over the years will be to our disposal for education of our comrades in years to cost. I think they mean to come, but anyway. So what they're going to do is they're going to start putting their hands into the pension funds and grabbing all your money. So if you've got a pension fund in South Africa, expect after the election on the May the 8th for the ANC to start saying, hey, you know, you've got to start attributing a large percentage of this to things that we want you to put it into. And then we have a personal opinion about this document. And the personal opinion is as follows. I'm appalled that a document such as this actually exists. Looking back to the time from 1995 until now, it is relatively easy to see that almost every point mentioned in this document has to a lesser or greater degree taken place exactly as described. They had a plan of action. The old frog boiling in the water. The ANC may well try to label this document as innocent morale boosting on the part of some low-ranking official within the ANC at that time. However, the parallel between this document and what has happened in reality is simply too hard to ignore. Now, I am going to put the original document, a scan of it, on this video at the end of this intro, and you will say this is for the eyes only of the senior people within the ANC. So that suggestion is BS. To be honest, I would consider an excuse of morale boosting or any other excuse to be a blatant lie. I think that it's about time that President Ramaphosa and the ANC take the unprecedented step of playing open cards with the people of South Africa. After all, President Ramaphosa, you were a senior member of the ANC at that time, and he would have been privy to this document. And he is actually letting it roll out. Should the ANC claim that this document is false, I call on them to prove it. They never have. They've never refuted it. They can't. It's a genuine document. Prove that the degeneration of our schools was not part of a preconceived plan. Now, the fact is that if you are white and you're trying to get into university, you've got just about no chance at all. But if you're black and your grades are probably about 40% of that white person who's got no chance, you fly straight through into the system. That's how the whole quality of education and skills is being totally denigrated by the ANC. Prove that the collapse of the public health system was not part of a preconceived plan. That drunk fella. Prove that the stripping of all pension funds was not part of a preconceived plan. Well, that's happening, but it's going to happen in an even bigger way, I think, in the next couple of years. That's where they're going to try and keep the economy going. They're going to loot the pension funds of the retirees, and they're largely white people. Prove that the crippling of the various health schemes was not part of a preconceived plan. Prove that the genocide against our farming community was not part of a preconceived plan. Well, they talk about the farmers, don't they, in their document. Prove that turning white settlements into second-class citizens was not part of a preconceived plan. It's there in the document. And look at the squatter camps, the white squatter camps all over South Africa today. It's absolutely disgusting what this government has done to a minority group that it's supposed to be governing. They are a complete and utter disgrace. And I would add another word into that. They are a complete and utter racially motivated disgrace. Prove that your current land redistribution efforts are not part of a preconceived plan. Of course they are. This expropriation of land without compensation is clearly something that they had up their sleeve, and now they are actually moving forward with it. Prove that the ANC and you yourself are fit to govern South Africa. Well, they're not. You know, the only reason that Ramaphosa is a multi-billionaire is because of BBBEE. These big companies in South Africa had to find a black person to come onto their boards, gain a substantial percentage of their business to continue trading. So guess who the beneficiaries were? Not Dlamini in Soweto. No. The Zumas, the Ramaphosas, you know, they were the huge beneficiaries of this whole scam. It is absolutely appalling. And they talk about, you know, distributing white wealth around the place. All they've done is they've thrown a large percentage of white wealth into the hands of very few well-connected black people. To be honest, failure to prove any of these requests can only mean that both you and the ANC are in fact guilty of implementing all of the points laid out in this document. And if the plans have changed since, then why has nothing else changed along with the plan? Some good points there. Now, what I'm going to do is I will attach a copy of the document so you can actually have a look at it yourself, and you'll see those points under an ANC letterhead, June 1993. Their agenda from the very start was to deprive the white population of their wealth and a genocide. And both are happening right now, while the rest of the world and the fake media look the other way. It is completely disgusting. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, and have a lovely day. Bye for now.